what we're going to do now is we read the book Jack and the Beanstalk yesterday.
To help their second graders understand how point of view can shape a text, Ron Andrus and Hannah Oldman have planned a Reading for Meaning lesson around two versions of Jack and the Beanstalk. With Reading for Meaning, students practice 3 phases of critical reading: making predictions before reading, finding evidence during reading, and analyzing after reading.
Today, we're going to see that story told in 2 different points of view. We're going to see it from Jack's point of view and from the giant's point of view. While we're reading these stories, we're going to look at our 3 statements, okay? And your job is going to be looking for evidence while we're reading.
As they planned the lesson, Ron and Hannah generated 3 statements about the text to get their learners thinking and talking. As they read the story, the second graders will listen for evidence that either supports or refutes the 3 statements.
When Miss Oldman calls your name, have a seat on the carpet. Okay, so listen for your name, and I'm going to meet you guys on the carpet. One half of the class, we wanted them to see it from the giant's point of view. And then when Hannah took the students to the other side, they read it from Jack's point of view.
Our group is going to read Jack's tale. So whose point of view do you think this story is going to be written in?
Jack.
Yeah, Jack's point of view.
The strategy called Reading for Meaning is based on a very important line of research called the proficient reader research. What does a proficient reader do during the reading process that makes him a proficient reader?
To instill the habits of proficient readers, Ron and Hannah take their students through a step-by-step process. First, they ask their students to make predictions about the book.
What do you think Jack's point of view of this story might be? Okay, I just want you to think in your head. You can talk with the people in your group.
During the reading, the students will be listening for evidence to support or refute the statements.
Remember, we're going to focus on these statements. The giant wanted to eat Jack. So as we're reading, think about the evidence that supports that or disagrees with it. Jack was right to take the goose. Search for evidence that's going to support that or disagree with it. And the last one, the giant is the villain. Listen for evidence to support that or disagree with it.
Remember, your evidence should be something that you can point to right in the story and say, look, right here. This proves that the giant wanted to eat Jack, or the giant did not want to eat Jack.
Hello, I'm George the Giant. Morning, noon, and night, I used to eat nothing but sheep. I was sick of sheep, even in my dreams. One day, out in my yard, I met a funny little man. He was littler than most. I was holding some beans in my hand at the time. If you give me those beans, said the man, I'll give you a special goose.
Howdy, I'm Jack. Mom and I used to be poor. We didn't have much except 1 cow. One day, Mom said, we have no money for food. We'll have to sell the cow.
She laid 3 golden eggs. I traded those eggs for a wagon load of donuts.
When we're planning a lesson, I think really the most important thing is what do we want the students to accomplish? What do we want them to learn from that lesson? Then looking at those Common Core standards and tying in, whatever would engage them and really get them to reach that end goal.
And that's the end of the story.
Now, the second graders will record evidence from the book that either supports or refutes the 3 statements.
In the book, you want to find your evidence straight out of this book.
Reading for Meaning gets to the heart of the Common Core anchor standards. Read closely, make inferences, find evidence. The goal for today's lesson? Assess how point of view shapes a text.
Where does it say he doesn't want to eat Jack?
The task is new to the students, so their teachers guide them through it.
Okay, our first statement was the giant wanted to eat Jack. Now, I see you have something different here. Addison says she agrees, and you said you disagree.
I disagreed because he ate a donut instead of Jack.
Okay, so you found in the story he ate a donut instead of Jack, so you don't think he was interested in eating Jack at all?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Addison. Addison, you wrote something different. You said you agree. What was your evidence?
Because he actually said in the book that he wanted to grind his bones into bread. You eat bread, so if he wants to make him into bread, he pretty much wants to eat him.
Okay. Do you remember that part in there? Do you know which evidence she's talking about?
Yeah, but I still disagree.
You disagree? That's awesome. There's your evidence right here, and there's Addison's there. So, different opinion on that. That's okay.
All right, so far, we've read Jack and the Beanstalk. We read it from the Giant's perspective. Miss Oldman read it from Jack's perspective. We're going to group the people who read it from the Giant's perspective with someone who read it from Jack's perspective. What we want you to do is to go through the statements. Say if you agree with that statement or disagree with that statement, and tell the evidence for why you disagree.
Try to explain your character's point of view.
And remember, where does the evidence come from? The book. The evidence
Right
is
from the
coming
book.
from the story.
One-on-one discussions allow the second graders to share their ideas.
And yours he's good.
This kind of discourse is consistent with the Common Core anchor standards for speaking and listening.
He didn't ask permission from the Giants to take the goose, so. I disagree because
The teachers follow up with a whole class discussion so the students can express and justify their positions.
Now, as you know, half of us read Jack's Tale, and the other half read the Giant's Tale. After the conversations that you had with your partner, what are some big similarities and some big differences between those two stories? Max?
In one story, Jack is the bad guy because he wanted to steal stuff from the Giants, like the goose and that donut that was holding in his hands. And in the other story, the Giant was the bad guy because he wanted to eat Jack.
And what was the evidence that you guys found that showed that Jack was the villain or that the Giant was the villain? What was some of the evidence you found in this story? Brooke, what was some of the evidence you found?
I don't think the Giant is the villain because Jack stole the goose.
Oh, so you found that piece of evidence that Jack took that goose.
The teachers continually remind the students to use evidence to justify their positions.
I found out that the Giant wanted to make his bread out of Jack, and he said he wanted an axe to chop down the beanstalk.
After the discussion, the teachers use a human barometer exercise to test the students' ability to support a position with evidence and persuade others.
If you think the stories were more different, you're going to sit over there by Miss Oldman. If you think that the stories are more similar, sit over here by me.
Different over here, same over there. The human barometer at the end, that's really a way to spark a lot of discussion. We start with just an open-ended kind of question, and then they have to kind of take a side. What's their opinion? What do they think?
And all the elements are the same, and all the illustrations, and everything looks the same, except it just explained a little different.
And what's really nice about that one is they get to change their mind throughout.
2 more people. I think it's different because in the Giants or whatever it's called.
Perspective?
Yeah. Jack didn't ask when the Giant went to take a nap after he ate a few donuts. Jack just snuck in and stole the goose. But in the other one, Jack actually asked the Giant's wife for the goose because
If a student gives a really, really good piece of evidence, it might change another student's mind. So it's a lot of debate and a lot of really great discussion.
And they tend to see it as a game, too, because they're trying to get people from the other side over on their side. So it really engages the students, and they're trying to really convince them to come over to my side.
A very specific strategy that asks students to look at claims and then find evidence to support or refute them in the text really promotes the kind of close reading and the skills that the core and the 21st century learning movement is really talking about.
Proficient reading requires a rich vocabulary. Vocabulary's Code delivers a 4-part strategy for building essential vocabulary.